Well, hello, and welcome to Momentous Live, episode 151. I'm Tristan Jutra,
I'm Will Silver.
and that's it. It's just us. No
Just the
Tasia.
two of us.
She's still lost in the woods. She might come back after her holiday. Go rob her house. Gray couldn't make it due to be a porch pirate and steal her butt rub. That's a deep cut. You're gonna have to go way
Well, how
back in the
about
archives for that
wasn't
story.
one time she was on vacation and like her $3,000 MacBook showed up and like she wasn't around?
I don't know, but all I know is that when I go on vacation, I usually still show up. So anyhow, and Gray, he's swamped, working on a big project, so could not be with us this evening. And we're starting a couple minutes late for biological reasons. So just a pro tip, don't go for rushed sushi ahead of time and have too much soy sauce and then too much green tea before you get a live stream. We might have to duck out early or take a pause. We'll see how it develops.
We'll see how it goes.
If you want more fascinating info like this, you can look us up at ye old internet at www.momentous.tv. That's where you find all the goodness about our YouTubes and our podcasts and our socials and our team socials as well. And there was a loud vehicle going up our hill. So, are we ready to do this, Will?
Let's do it.
We've got just a little bit of follow-up to start with. We've talked about Meta's Ray-Ban smart glasses a couple of times over the years. They're on the second generation now, which came out last fall. Ray-Ban Stories, as they're called, or at least they were called. Meta, to their credit, has continued to add features to these least dorky looking smart glasses around. They basically just look like Ray-Ban Wayfarers with slightly chunkier temples and little circles on the in the top corners for the recording light and for the camera. But a few months ago, they added some smart assistant features into it because they have built-in microphone and speakers as well. So they're adding some of that sweet Meta AI juice to them. More smart features are coming. They were teased on Instagram Threads by Meta CTO, Chief Technical Officer Andrew Bosworth, also known as Boz. And he showed off some features whereby you can look at things and it will identify landmarks for you when you tell it to. So there are some certain commands you have to say. There's a certain syntax to learn. So there's some examples. Look and tell me a cool fact about this bridge. And in the shot, the person is looking at the Golden Gate Bridge in the background. And then it responds with a little blurb on the Golden Gate Bridge. Similarly, it did look and tell me more about these houses. And it's the Painted Ladies Victorian houses in San Francisco, California, and gives a paragraph about that. And then another one, look and tell me about this landmark, not even giving a hint as to what it is. And it correctly identifies the landmark as Coit Tower, also known as the Coit Memorial Tower, and giving a bunch of details on that. So pretty cool way to learn some more about your environment. Now, the question is, like, what would you actually use this for in the real world? Maybe if you were a tourist and you were touring around somewhere that was not familiar to you and you wanted some info. It's instead of a heads up display, it's more like an ambient computing type thing. Just say, hey, what's this? And having a smart assistant there rather than you having to stare at your phone and take pictures and look things up that way. So this feature is in beta. It's not clear as to when it will be available. So, Will, from all the various smart devices, AI devices, augmented reality, virtual reality, stuff like that, given that you're a Ray-Ban wearer, we may have talked about this in the past, as they continue to add these features, how tempted are you getting to maybe, experiment with something like this, or even go and like try a set out, given that it might not be that much of a stretch from your current Ray-Ban lifestyle?
I'm not super tempted. I mean, the price obviously would be a huge deterrent. I also think they just need to bake it a little bit more. I'm not convinced that it's all that useful. So
what would it take to convince you? Like, what
Well,
features would you need to make it worthwhile for you?
so the ultimate thing is like a heads up display that like shows me information about things going on and things like that. A HUD would be cool. I was just
Mm-hmm.
talking with someone at the gym about looking down at our watches all the time to see our heart rate. What if it was just in a pair of glasses and
For
stuff like
sure.
that?
Mm-hmm.
So things like that would be cool, but I mean, we're pretty far off from that.
Well, I mean, you could. I'm not sure how far off we are, frankly. Was it 13 years ago or so? Was when we had Google Glass, and I mean, their thing was to have the little lens up in the top corner, and you could see some information there. So they could do something like that, or I wouldn't be surprised. I can imagine within the next year or two being able to project something onto the inside of the lenses, because the technology is just getting more capable and more miniaturized and more battery efficient. So we're going to hold you to it. Third gen, fourth gen, Meta Ray Bans. If they have a heads up
Sure,
display, you're going to take the leap.
sure.
All right, because then I
Let's
can
do it.
collect my commission from Mark Zuckerberg. I got to say, even as they are now, I'm kind of tempted, because
Really?
you can get them as sunglasses or as regular prescription glasses, or if you want, you could do the old man transition lenses, which I've had once before, and they're a little weird. But I let's just say I'm curious, because all
Ah,
these
you're
this is
glass curious.
oh yeah, exactly. Okay, so that's just a little follow up on the Meta. Let's move on. Meta Ray-Ban. Let's move on to some quasi follow up. We've of course talked about Apple Vision Pro quite a bit over the last, was it 8 or 9 months or so, ever since their initial unveiling at World WWDC 2023 in last June, Apple's developer event. And they were officially released about a month ago now, and we had the reviews from the people who had review units and people who have not had review units and have gone and bought them. And now we're starting to see real world reports trickling in from some interesting use cases. And one such use case was a medical team in the UK using the headset during 2 spinal surgeries.
Ooh.
Now, some of the headlines are a little misleading, because they say doctors are using the Apple Vision Pro during surgery, and that's not exactly what's going on. So what happened is a medical team at Cromwell Hospital in London had one of the nurses, I believe, one of the attending nurses, strapped on the Apple Vision Pro, and then was working with a surgeon with whom they had never worked before. And the said surgeon said that because this nurse had access to all sorts of information on the heads up display in front of them, and yet was still able to see through in real time to the actual procedure, they were able to, they were fully briefed on what was going on, and could assist the surgeon in ways that were previously unavailable, because they had access to so much info right there and then. And so it really helped shorten the I guess when the rapid onboarding time, one might say, or real time information updating, gathering and updating sort of time. So this all kind of sort of folds into Apple's long stated strategy of making a large impact in the healthcare space. I think Tim Cook was quoted 8 or 10 years ago saying that he thought that some of Apple's biggest contributions would be to healthcare, and we've seen a little bit of that through the health and fitness features in the Apple Watch, the health app on the iPhone, and the Apple Vision Pro now maybe helping people with surgery. So I suspect we're going to start to see this sort of thing more and more, and more interesting use cases. Maybe Boeing could use some of these when they're building aircraft, and having some like checklists stuff like that.
Couldn't hurt.
How many, which bolts should you tighten, for example. So any thoughts on this? Any applications that you're waiting to see if it could be pulled off with the Apple Vision Pro? I mean, surgery seems, that's a pretty high profile, like high risk sort of situation. And if people can pull it off there with that real time, high quality video pass through, and with the information overlaid, what other sorts of applications could you envision that you think might be kind of interesting for a device like the Apple Vision Pro or others of a similar quality.
If you can do it here, you can do it anywhere. Or is that what you're saying? No, I mean,
is this in New York? No, this is UK, not New York, Will.
Yeah. No, I think surgery is pretty cool. I mean, obviously. I mean, I think we're gonna have to just see how all this stuff. It's still so new, all of it. So I think we'll just have to see how things are applied. I can't think of anything in particular that I think is a no-brainer. But
well, we could spitball this a little. Mechanics. How about DJs?
Actually, I was just thinking mechanics.
Yeah.
Mechanics. It's sort of
not having to touch keyboards,
like surgery.
Right? Yeah, exactly. Okay, what are all the things we do surgery on? People, cars, pets, computers. Airplanes, etc. So that would be a good starting point. Just anything we could do surgery on, anything we need information on, especially when our hands are occupied.
Yeah.
Or you don't want to be touching a keyboard with your bloody gloves, for example.
Yeah.
But being able to use the virtual keyboard and the whole cool thing about the Apple Vision Pro is not having to use hand controllers, right?
Yeah.
So and as this device is going to get lighter and less obtrusive as time goes on. So again, this is the worst Apple Vision Pro that's ever going to exist, right? It's probably the heaviest one that's ever going to exist and the slowest one that's ever going to exist. So we can just project into the future, but I think, DJing. Well, there you go.
So there is some sort of DJ app. I don't know what you would do with DJing with this thing.
Real-time beat matching. It's telling you the current BPMs. It's suggesting it's got a list of 10 other songs in the right key and the right BPM that could go, and it could cue those up for you right away. And you could just grab them, and you could be up on the stage just doing this with your hands, dragging things around, making your mixes live. Maybe do some visuals.
Sure.
You're the one. You could do a little fricka, little scratch DJing while you're at it. Anyhow, like you said, if they can do it with surgery, the sky's the limit, right?
Yeah.
And of course, Apple is going to, they had on their press page, they've got an article on it showing a bunch of these stuff, and it's I got to admit, it's pretty cool. So again, we'll just watch this space for more developments in. If we see people wearing, you're going to surgery and it looks like people are wearing ski goggles, it's okay. It's probably just Apple Vision Pro.
Yeah.
Other technology issues, maybe not so great. If you're one of those people who are very online, maybe watching some of the social feeds over the past weekend, you may have seen some news about news agencies in the UK and elsewhere pulling some royal photos from their feeds because they detected that they were it was doctored images. And as it turns out, there's a royal photo of Princess Kate Middleton, with her kids. And of course, Princess Kate has had a pretty low profile lately since her abdominal surgery in June. And then, of course, you get all the internet sleuths on there saying well, what's wrong with this photo? And there's, I guess some of the people at the news agencies, and good on them, because I think everyone is pretty sensitive to the whole notion of, deep fakes, photoshopped images, AI generated stuff and whatnot. And there are a few anomalies detected in there, such as some strange sleeve action, some blurriness and blending where it didn't look like there should be, and some strange kids' fingers. But I think that was actually just a kid, doing weird stuff with his fingers. That was, I don't think there was anything to see there, quite frankly. But what was your take, being someone who's used a lot of Photoshop over the years, Will, and it came out like Kate Middleton, even when I think she went on to Instagram and said, it was me, it was my fault because I was messing around. You could see in the metadata, the photo had been taken with a Sony A7, Mark 3 or 4 or something like that. And that Prince William had taken the photo. And she was probably messing with it in Photoshop. You could see in the metadata that had been saved a couple of times. And a lot of these cameras and smartphones nowadays have burst modes, and then they sometimes will, the whole thing with this person's got their eyes closed in that image, and so sometimes they'll stitch a number of photos together. Sometimes it's automatic and or manual. but there was this whole brouhaha about this. Well, and what was it? What was your take on this whole situation here? Do you think it was much ado about nothing, people blowing it out of proportion, or what?
I kind of think that it's much ado about nothing. I think partly it's we're pretty educated these days. You know, if this had happened 20 years ago, I don't think it would have made much of an impact. I think also, I mean, she claims that it was just she was overzealous. So yeah, I mean, that's a pretty amateur mistake. They pointed out all sort of the things that she did. That it also seems like some of these things, like that's like a generative fill or like a masking issue that they did, something like that. I think that the most serious accusation was because of those fingers, people thought that maybe it was AI.
Well, AI
Because
loves
it's
fingers.
so weird. The
Yeah.
hand is so weird. But I don't know. I mean,
But I mean, I
just
can do that with my hand. I mean, kids just mess around with their fingers all the time, right? As long as they keep
sure.
them out of their nose, that's what's key, especially as a
Yeah.
royal.
It didn't bother me all that much, but I know it bothered some people, and I think some people do have concerns about what's real and what's not. But
Yeah.
yeah, there was something to do with the hair cut off there that you were showing, and there's a few other instances. I think the fill part was probably the worst. That's probably the thing. But again, like if I had looked at this photo, like I don't know if I would have picked it apart. Like
Yeah.
I might have just sort of looked at it and passed. I mean, if you start really analyzing things, but man, I don't know. I think people are it's much ado about nothing.
Must have been a slow news weekend. People are really all
Yeah,
over it. I mean, at a glance, oh, it just looks like a happy mom and her kids. And
yeah,
there's people who people have think whatever they think about the royal family and their usefulness in the modern world. But it's like you feel. I mean, I feel kind of bad for someone who's had had surgeries, trying to recover, and lives a pretty public life. Everything is
yeah,
scrutinized about you and your family and your children, all that sort of thing. And this is the kind of thing that any parent could do, a mistake that any parent could make. But because there's so much attention on them, that you kind of get dragged through the mud, and next thing you know, it's like I said, it's on the tabloids. So she had gone on to, like I said, had gone on to Instagram and did the mea culpa. And it's like, oh man, it's just sad that you have to do that.
I
You know.
I watch a YouTuber
Mhm.
who is not very good at Photoshop, and they do like cruising videos and stuff. And someone asked them one time, like, how do you do your thumbnails for YouTube, right?
Mhm.
And so they showed their process, and that drives me freaking crazy because like the lighting's all off, the scale's all off. They're using like weird generative fill. It's like you don't know what you're doing. Stop pretending you're actually good at this. And like, so it's like compared to this, like this
Yeah.
is not that egregious. So I know that like everything's under a finer microscope, and in the UK, especially when you're a royal, and those what do they call them, like tabloids are just the worst in the UK, just the worst. So and I think they've actually gotten better, but yeah, if you've ever seen the Beckham documentary, they basically like ruined his life for long periods of time. So yeah, it's I think it's just like calm down, people. There's wars going on right now. Could we
Oh
just
boy.
could we start caring about other things?
Exactly. We should care about other things like Mario Day 2024.
Yes.
How about that? How's that for a segue?
Yeah, very
Now,
good segue.
I have to confess, Will, I didn't realize that Mario Day was a thing. And then I looked a little bit more closely at the typography, and it's like MAR10 day. And it's like, oh, because it was on the weekend, it's Sunday. It's
Yeah,
so March 10th, Mar 10, Mar E. Oh, I see what they're doing. So it's kind
yeah,
of like, Star Wars, May 4th is Star Wars Day.
yeah.
May the 4th be
May
with
the
you.
4th.
So
Yeah.
we've got some, some determinism happening there. Let's put it that way, based on the dates. So yeah, Nintendo has adopted the date as their own. I'm not sure how many years it's been going. We can do some real time fact check on that. But in the meantime, March 10th, 2016 was the first official one. There we go. Look at that. Thanks, Google. So this year, there was a number of announcements with Mario Day 2024. And why don't we let you walk us through the big ones? Well,
Yeah, I mean, for me, the two that kind of stand out is they announced another Mario movie after the success of the movie the Super Mario Bros. Last year. So that was kind of, I think we knew that was probably coming given the success, but as someone who named it their movie of the year, I am very happy about that. The other thing for me that I'm kind of excited about is the Lego, the Super Mario, or sorry, Mario Kart Lego. So I thought that was pretty cool. And then otherwise, it's sort of, to be quite honest with you, a lot of re-releases to the Switch. So various Game Boy games, Luigi's Mansion 2 HD. I think it's being put into HD, and then Luigi's Mansion 2, I believe. Or no, sorry, Luigi's Mansion and Paper Mario. Those are the two that are getting the remastering HD treatment, and then a bunch of Game Boy games. So Mario Tennis, which actually I'm a huge fan of, especially on the DS. And then, I think, wasn't it also Dr. Mario?
Luigi's Mansion from, was it the GameCube or something like that?
Yeah, the first one was on the GameCube. Yes,
that was a lot of fun. And
yeah.
So this is Luigi's Mansion 2 HD. So this is just a remaster.
I think so. Yeah.
Well, can you explain to us in the video game world what a remaster is? Is it simply just upscaling, or is it more to it than that?
Well, yeah. I mean, look, I think there can be different ways of doing it. Some just simply port the game and maybe convert it so it'll work on modern televisions like HD and stuff like that. Some
like
will
widescreen and all that.
Widescreen.
Kind of
I would actually, strangely enough, I just bought the DuckTales. I think it's called a remaster video game from like 10 years ago. And that was like, they completely redid all the animation. It was basically the same game, but they just redid it. But
was that the one on Steam right now?
Yeah, it's on Steam for like $4 or something like that. Yeah, DuckTales. So, and if you just see that screenshot there about what the original looked like on the NES. So yeah, that talks about the art and so I just figured it was a good price. I never bought it. So it's but yeah, it looked pretty amazing given the animation. So that video just goes through all the animation. There are ones where you can actually switch between like the remaster and the original,
cool,
like the 8-bit version and stuff like that. So so there's different ways of doing it. Some just faithfully port it, and some like redo all the animation.
Yeah, and like update the textures and
update the texture.
Yeah, I think because they've done like the Tomb Raider series, and I think was it Last of Us got remastered for the PS4 and or PS5, for example.
I mean, it's a big thing. Like after about 10 years, you might put it out again, just because you already have it, and just like. I mean, I guess it comes down to how much effort you want to put in and how faithful you want to be to the original.
And what's the return on investment for the effort?
What's return on investment? Yeah. I mean, some people just want to straight put it on a new platform, and it's just got to be up-res to get on there. And then some companies like that, DuckTales, where they obviously had an affinity for the game and felt like, there was... the original platform didn't do it justice, so they reanimated the whole thing.
So what's the deal with Paper Mario Thousand Year Door HD? Is this a new game or is this a remaster as well? I think
it's an HD as well. It's a redo. It was first released on the GameCube in 2004.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah, have you ever played Paper Mario? It's like
there's
so many variations of Mario.
Yeah.
It's wild.
I've seen people play it, but I've never played it myself. that was kind of from an era where I didn't have a GameCube. Like I had a
Mhm.
PS2, 3 kind of
Oh,
thing.
right, right.
So yeah, I missed out on the Paper Mario. Also, I think Paper Mario tends to be a little bit more of an RPG, and I'm much more of the platformer type of guy.
Mhm.
So yeah,
Interesting. So that was one of the other things announced. We got Luigi's Mansion, and then Game Boy's Mario Golf, Mario Tennis, and Dr. Mario to join Nintendo Switch Online this
yeah,
week as well. So a bunch of classic titles just coming to the online, which is
yeah,
nice. You mentioned the Lego Mario kits, so yeah, a lot of Mario related news for the Mario fans
yeah.
out there. It's nice to Zelda's been getting so much attention over the last few years, so it's nice to bring it back to Mario on his
Sure.
special day. March
Yes,
10th every
his
year. So
his
they'll probably
birthday.
be in 2 years, it'll be the 10th anniversary. So
Oh wow.
they'll probably do a big deal for that. Maybe they'll announce Super Mario Brothers 3 movie or whatever they're going to call it. All right. So speaking of Mario, there is a sale going on. You can pick up some games on the Nintendo Switch,
Uh-huh.
up to about 33% off on a lot of titles. And I believe these deals go on until March 18th. So you can check out I don't have a Switch myself, Will, but the Switch has like an online store you could go
Yeah.
and get these things on.
Yeah,
Again,
they
a bunch.
all pretty much all the platforms do these days.
So
So
Mario Kart 8, Mario Party Superstars, Luigi's Mansion 3, Mario Tennis Aces, and Yoshi's Crafted World. So, given these good deals, are you tempted to get any of these other ones as well? Oh, Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games Tokyo 2020, and Mario and Rabbids Sparks of Hope. I guess that's Rayman Rabbit. Is that what that
yeah,
is?
yeah,
Okay.
they did a crossover. I'm pretty good with the ones we have. We have a lot of
Okay.
the classics like Odyssey and
Mhm.
various 2D Mario's and Super
Mhm.
Mario Brothers 3. So I think we're pretty good.
They're good for now. You've got till the 18th, so you got a few more days to decide. If you if you want to go even more retro than old school 8-bit Mario, um, it's always exciting to see what people are playing on Doom on. We talked about using bacteria as a display for Doom a few
Yeah.
weeks ago, but this one fellow managed to get Doom playing on a smart toothbrush. It's probably the most useful thing you could do with that toothbrush, quite frankly. Um, so yeah, just add that to the list of things. Hacking devices to play Doom. That's anytime a new electronic device comes out, you need to ask yourself, can it play Doom? Well, this smart toothbrush, and of course, I'm not logged into the article. 404 Media, they make you log in now, and they have a lot of free articles, which are great. The question is, can I sign in quickly enough to actually get some more details? Well, can you vamp for a minute? What are your thoughts on playing Doom? What's your favorite device to play Doom on?
A computer? I haven't played Doom in forever.
Yeah.
I mean, I think our good friend of the show, Tim Stump, was quite the Doom player and did a lot of modding for it. That's how I think he started his illustrious career as a video game um,
Developer.
developer. Yeah,
Yeah, I don't think I've played Doom since like the 90s on my mom's Windows 3.1 PC back in the day, and it was fun for a bit. I had a short attention span for a lot of games. All right, let's see. We're logged in now, and they call it Doom's brush, but yeah, it's running on a Plank Mini Smart Toothbrush. So this smart toothbrush normally collects brushing reports and can track kids' brushing performance anytime and anywhere via the internet, even if you're not at home, according to its description on Amazon. So if you really feel that you must have another Doom compatible device in your life, check out the Plank Mini Smart Toothbrush. Moving right along, if you want more obscure games, we have another little resource for you. It's Weird Effin' Games. You can go to wfgames.net and you can check out such classics as Monster Munch Out, uh, the VHS Paradise. I kind of checked that one out. That's kind of wild. It's kind of liminal spaces, wild, just like very strange kind of 80s, 90s empty video stores wandering around. I If you got some time to kill, you could check out Mannequin Mart, Snail Simulator, Silent Bill, sorry, Spirits Mirror, Digital Possessed, all sorts of very strange games. Some vaporwave aesthetic in some places with games like Nowhere Angel, iPad Baby, some 8-bit style games as well, and some adult themed games too. So check them out. Well, wfgames.net, and you can play them on a computer through a web browser, not on a smart toothbrush.
I think I'm cool, bro.
This is your homework. I need you to check out some of these games and report back with your top 3. You like games? Come on.
I'll be spending
Tasia's not
too
here.
much
It's your
time
only
playing
chance.
DuckTales and Starfield.
Oh, you're still in the Starfield, are you?
Yeah.
All right, let's move from games to other popular culture, as in movies. This past weekend, we had the 2024 Oscars. And I don't know about you, Will, but I thought it was one of the best Oscars in a long time.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we've been going to an Oscars party hosted by friends of the show, Don and Tracy, for years and years, since the mid to late 90s. I think 96, 97 is when they started doing that. They weren't able to host this year, which was a shame. But we watched the Oscars with a couple of friends, and it was entertaining. It was pretty brisk. Some people were confused because not only was it daylight savings time, so it was an hour early, but they actually started an hour early, so it was actually kind of effectively 2 hours earlier than normal. So some people like tuned in kind of late, and they actually joked about it in the telecast itself. It was not a ton of surprises. There was a couple of upsets, as expected. Oppenheimer took home quite a lot of medal. But quick recap for those who weren't paying attention. Oppenheimer, of course, got Best Picture. Cillian Murphy won Best Actor for his role in Oppenheimer. One upset, Emma Stone won for Best Actress in a leading role. One of the other favorites was Lily Gladstone, who I believe had won the Screen Actors Guild Award. You get a lot of preview for these awards events, for the Oscars, by seeing what happens at the Golden Globes, the SAGs, and the BAFTAs, which is the British one. But yeah, so Lily Gladstone didn't get it for. She was really good in Killers of the Flower Moon, but her role was kind of smaller, let's say. Emma Stone's role was much more prominent, and it was quite effective too. But she won for her role in Poor Things. Robert Downey Jr., Best Actor in Supporting Role for Oppenheimer. Best Actress in a Supporting Role, Divine Joy Randolph, who was quite good in The Holdovers. Christopher Nolan, Best Director in Oppenheimer. Again, first Best Director win for Nolan, if you can believe it, Will.
Wow,
so, yeah. Well, so it's a serious movie because, historical drama. So, there's not too much timey-wimey stuff going on, or not too sci-fi or anything like that. Best cinematography for Oppenheimer, well-deserved there too. We saw that on IMAX, as you may recall, which was really showcased its cinematography, especially for those Senate hearings.
You got to have the full screen for that. And
you want to see their pores. Those close-ups. Zone of Interest, Best International Feature Film. Just saw that. No, I haven't seen that. Yeah, I'd like to see that. That's coming on streaming soon. It's only been available for purchase. I think it's coming on streaming on the 18th, maybe. American Fiction for Best Adapted Screenplay. I can't speak today, Will. I think it's the sushi. I recommend that one as well. Anatomy of a Fall for Best Original Screenplay, also quite good. Best Live Action Short. So Wes Anderson finally gets an Oscar for his direction of The Wonderful Story of Henry Sugar. And Best Animated Short Film, War is Over, inspired by the music of John and Yoko. So Julian Lennon was one of the people who accepted on that. I imagine he was involved with that. Best Animated Feature. Not sure if this was an upset per se. I was kind of thinking Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse would get
me
this.
Too. Yeah,
because it's just so much, but maybe because it wasn't super different from the previous installment.
Some people are also saying maybe they're saving it for the third. The other thing is, like, I am not a big anime person, but Studio Ghibli is very well received, and they did Boy and the Heron, and that's Miyazaki, I think.
Miyazaki, yeah.
And again, I'm not a big fan or anything, but
second Oscar for Miyazaki film, and again, he didn't show up.
Yeah. Well, he is like 85 or something. It's probably just a brain in a jar somewhere.
You got to come and get those. You got to come and get those loot bags. Come on.
Yeah.
Best documentary short, The Last Repair Shop, which is a hometown favorite. That's an LA story. Best documentary feature, 20 Days in Mariupol. That tracks, given the zeitgeist right now. Best original song, What Was I Made For, from Barbie. That was the Billie Eilish song. They did a performance of that. Not I'm Just Ken,
It should
surprisingly.
have won.
Yeah, because patriarchy. Best
Yeah.
original score, Oppenheimer, which I guess, yeah, I mean, Nolan films often have great scores and or sound design in general. I honestly couldn't remember much about any of these scores. I mean, except for the Indiana Jones in the Dial of Destiny, because it was yet another John Williams,
Yeah.
classic. Best makeup and hairstyling went to Poor Things. Again, well deserved, especially when you look at Willem Dafoe's face on that, and then some of the other characters. Best costume design to Poor Things. Best editing to Oppenheimer. Couldn't agree more. Best sound to Zone of Interest. Again, haven't seen it, but I should link. I'll include a link in the show notes to there's a little feature I watched on the sound design for Zone of Interest, and it's wild. Some of the things that they did in that movie to capture the ambience
Uh-huh.
is because if you know anything about the story, it's a little dark. It's about the family of a Nazi commandant, like basically living next to Auschwitz, I believe, and they're just living their life, and you hear everything going on next door, just like throughout the entire movie, apparently. But there's some other interesting sound design choices that they made as well. Also interesting this year is it's just best sound. Remember, it used to be sound editing and sound mixing, and a
Yeah.
lot of normies didn't really, including myself, didn't really understand the nuances and how does one judge. And I suspect a lot of the Academy voters didn't really understand how
No.
to judge those properly as well. So they just combined them into best sound. Best productions design went to Poor Things. Again, when you see, there's some behind the scenes stuff on that, which friend of the show, Jamie Reynolds, watched behind the scenes on that, which I also include in the show notes. It's wild because it's mostly practical effects, very little in the way of green screen. So when you get around to seeing it, you'll see what I mean. So yeah, the awards, like, I mean, it seemed like there wasn't. I don't think there was any great injustices there. Quite honestly, a couple of little surprises, but there's some great movies, and we made a point of seeing as many as we could. I think there was only one Best Oscar nominee that we didn't get around to seeing. So before we talk about some of the other moments, Will, do you have any thoughts on the winners? Any ones that you thought may have been overlooked or snubbed, or any that you're like, yeah, that tracks, and that's exactly how it should have played out?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there was any huge snubs for me. I mean, I would have liked to see uh, um, Ryan Gosling win, but that's
Oh, for
just
the song or for the best
for
actor?
both. I mean, I thought he was really great in that role.
As Ken.
So I thought he did a real good job, um, in the role. So I think that would have been good. I mean, like, I liked Oppenheimer. I still don't think it's the best of uh,
Christopher Nolan.
Christopher Nolan's movies.
Hmm.
So I mean, like, yeah, it was good, and it was a very good movie. But he's had better movies. It's funny that he won for that. Dark Knight was great, Inception was great, Memento was great. So it's just funny that he won for that, but it would sort of be like from Tropic Thunder. It's like certain movies get Oscars, as you said, right? So um,
Well, I
yeah,
think part of it might be it's very seldom do sci-fi movies or like superhero movies
yeah.
get nominated or take home a best picture
Lord of the
with
Rings is the
with a
notable
with
one.
very few, but they waited till Return of the King, right?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
the first two movies they didn't do. Of course, the Hobbit rightfully got overlooked. Um,
I think
so
the biggest snub for me was probably Spider-Verse, but that's just because I like
mhm,
that movie so
mhm.
much. And I'm not an anime fan. Full disclosure, I'm not big into anime, and I didn't see A Boy and His Heron. But for me, just as someone that's seen a few of those animated movies, I definitely would have picked across the Spider-Verse. Elemental wasn't that great. It was okay. It was very well produced, but I didn't
Mhm.
love the story all that much, and there's problems with it. But but yeah, I mean, Across the Spider-Verse was just really. I mean, it's one of those few movies that the sequel is as good or better than the first one, which is saying something because the first one was pretty darn good. So,
do you know? Is it going to be a trilogy? Are they doing a third? Do you know?
yeah, they totally set up the third movie. Remember
Right.
at the
I
end?
can't remember. I can't
Yeah.
remember. One category I omitted was the best visual effects went to fan favorite Godzilla -1, which
I still
I
haven't seen it.
wholly endorse. Um,
They're doing another King Kong, aren't they?
yeah,
King Kong and Godzilla. We should go see that.
yeah. Oh, yeah, we will indeed. So, as you may recall, this Godzilla -1 is sort of in the Toho, Japanese Godzilla universe, as opposed to the North American ones in the legendary Universal universe. But yeah, we'll
Mhm.
totally see the new one. But Will,
Yes.
if you want to, is Naomi going to be interested in seeing Godzilla
No,
-1 at all?
this is
No.
one of these things you saw without me, and I'll never see it
Oh yeah.
because Naomi and I didn't go, and she'll never want to watch it on TV, and we'll never see it. So,
Well, here's and you know why I saw it without you, because I went with my brothers-in-law and
because you hate me.
yeah, exactly. That's why I talk to you every week on this idiot box.
I know. I
So,
know. You went with your
all right. So here's
brother-in-law.
here's my promise to you. If
Okay.
because of the Oscars it gets another run in the theater, I will go see it in the theater with you. If it does not, we'll do a special showing because Stephanie hasn't seen it either. So
Oh,
we can
really?
do a special showing here at Momentous HQ. How about that?
Sounds good. My wife and I want to meet your cats.
Well, maybe we can combine, and we can force her to watch Godzilla -1.
Yeah.
And the cats will freak out at the visual effects.
Yes.
So, the only kind of I know I don't really like the term snub, but I honestly thought that Leonardo DiCaprio not even being nominated for Best Actor was a bit of an oversight. I know people were concerned about Greta Gerwig not getting a Best Director nomination,
Did Margot
or
Robbie get
Margot
nominated?
Robbie didn't get a Best
Yeah.
Actress nomination, but and a lot of people go straight to patriarchy. It's like, or maybe it was just a strong year in those categories, right? Aside from Best Picture, they only have 5 nominees.
Yeah.
So then I think when people say that, okay, who are you going to omit? Right, from those categories,
Martin Scorsese. He doesn't deserve it.
Right. So, and the directors, I believe the Best Director is the only category that's it's voted on just by the directors too, right? So, jury of one's peers, et cetera, et cetera. But are you going to take a nomination away from Lily Gladstone, the Indigenous actress, for her role in Killers of the Flower Moon? So Margot Robbie can be in there. Like it's a no-win situation. So, but there's only 5. So, but I thought Leonardo DiCaprio did an amazing job in Killers of the Flower Moon. His character was multi-layered, as was Robert De Niro, and Robert De Niro got Best Supporting Actor nomination, I believe. But Robert Downey Jr. got. I'm all
Best
confused.
Supporting, yes.
Best Supporting. So who got? Oh, it was Cillian Murphy got Best Actor. Yeah, and which is deserved as well. Because it's funny because you watch Oppenheimer, it's like, wow, I forgot that Cillian Murphy is such a weird guy, so skinny, and then you see him like normal. It's like, oh, he's not really that skinny, and he's not really that weird. Okay, right. So that's acting, right? And same with Emma Stone. Like again, she was phenomenal in Poor Things. So very transformed. Anyhow, Godzilla -1. We'll bookmark that one. We'll make sure to see that at some point.
Sounds good.
In terms of the actual Oscars themselves, some of the observations in the media, and there's just one that we're choosing here from Time Magazine. Jimmy Kimmel did a pretty good job. He does a good job of fading into the background. He doesn't dominate. He kind of does his thing, tells his jokes, pokes some gentle fun. And gets out of the way. He kept the show moving, and I think came in slightly under time, which was good. We've got some observations here. Most heartfelt speech from Divine Joy Randolph. She won for Best Supporting Actress in The Holdovers. She was quite good in that. There was Best Music Supervision for an award, which was in Anatomy of a Fall. If you see that movie, there's a steel drum version of PIMP by 50 Cent. And I couldn't get it out of my head for a couple of days after watching that movie. And then they played it again at the Oscars. Like, I can't get the song out of my head. So I encourage you to check out PIMP by 50 Cent, the steel drum version, as featured in Anatomy of a Fall, which is an interesting courtroom drama. Starring Sandra Hüller, who also starred in another Best Picture nominee, which was The Zone of Interest. So, which was nominated for both Best Picture and Best International feature as well, I believe. One of the other things they did, they brought back for the first time since 2009, whereas with the Best Supporting Actress, Best Supporting Actor, Best Actress, and Best Actor categories, they had 5 previous nominees from various years introducing and kind of paying tribute to each of the nominees for the category. So say for Best Actress, they had 5 previous Best Actress winners, and then they would introduce one each respectively. And that was actually pretty cool. One of the highlights there, Nicolas Cage introduced, I don't even remember who he introduced. He introduced Paul Giamatti, because he was best actor nominee, and he was talking about Paul Giamatti's wonky eye in there and what he had to do to achieve that. He had to
wearing a contact,
wear the same contact lens, and he's like, talking about like what it would take to do something. He's like, I would totally do that. Like he was like, Nicolas Cage had his 90 seconds or 60 seconds of glory. People, how often do we see Nicolas Cage actually feature at the Oscars? So that was actually kind of fun, because he was an Oscar winner himself.
He's a great actor. He does a lot of schlock, but
a few clunkers.
But
a Dream Scenario last year was quite good. It didn't. I don't think it got any nominations, but it was a pretty interesting, quirky movie. Most Passionate Plea. We got Jonathan Glazer, drawing some sort of indirectly drawing some connections between some themes in Zone of Interest and maybe what's going on in the Middle East at the moment. Other Most Passionate Plea by the director of 20 Days in Mariupol, talking about the current situation in Ukraine and the invasion by Russia, and that ongoing. We're in 2 years deep on that, and of course that's what his documentary was about. New category in Time Magazine, Most Kenergy. Will, did you get to see the performance of
I thought it was great. I mean, I this is where I'm saying, like, I think Ryan Gosling sometimes is underestimated how great a performer he is. And as they were saying, he was in La La Land, and he was in the Mickey Mouse Club. He has these chops, so
he can sing. He's got the pipes,
and he just had fun with it. And I think that's exactly what the Oscars need. That's one of my favorite moments from the Oscars.
It was really energy-wise. It got the crowd into it, and a lot of people consider that to be the highlight of the evening. And of course, it's kind of sad and ironic because Barbie was supposed to be female empowerment and whatnot. And of course,
but that song is a comment on
the man steals the show because patriarchy. Most Genuinely Shocked winner, which was Emma Stone, and she was apparently, her dress broke. She was having some issues with the back part of her dress, and it took her a while to get settled. Actually, she seemed honestly quite surprised to win. Most Bizarre Award Presentation. Of course, it was for Best Picture at the very end. Did you catch that? Al Pacino.
I did. And the other thing is, I know they introduce all the movies throughout, but it's like he just kind of said it, and it was kind of like your drunk grandpa just sort of saying some stuff. Like, it was very weird, and it was just kind of like, that's the great moment of the evening. It's just like, wow.
Yeah, so there's a couple other ones that were okay. So just to recap, so Al Pacino gets up, of course, Hollywood royalty, and needs no introduction. But apparently neither did the 10 Best Picture nominees. And I don't know if that was if it was on the prompter or not. You think they would have done a little recap, but he kind of shuffles up there and it's like, Best Picture. I have to go to the envelope for that. And he's unsealing the card, and I will. Here it comes. And my eyes see Oppenheimer. It's like, okay, I guess we're done.
Like, sorry, I should have done some research on this. Do they do that every year? Because they now recap them throughout the night. Do they just announce it, or do they at least announce what's nominated? Because it seems like it was so weird that they didn't even mention what was nominated again. You think they would nominate?
I honestly don't recall, and we'll have to go and look that up, because it felt like it was very sudden, quite honestly.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you may recall a couple of other strange and anticlimactic awards for Best Picture. One was the whole mix-up with, was
Yes.
it Warren Beatty and Faye Dunaway,
Yes.
and where
They
they
announced
read
Emma
out,
Stone,
yeah, well,
or they had Emma Stone's
well,
card.
because they were given the wrong envelope. So
Yes.
that turns out what it was. So they're like kind of confused and like, and so they thought it was La La Land. It was actually Moonlight. I think it was Moonlight that actually won,
Yeah.
right? So they
Yeah.
had to. That was really awkward, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And of course, that was the accountants. Hey, they didn't.
Yeah. They got fired.
Yeah, and they didn't shout out the accountants this year, which was interesting too. And then there was the one year where, do you remember they shuffled up the categories and they presented Best Actor at the end? Because I think the hope was that Chadwick Boseman, who played Black Panther, had been nominated for Best Actor for a different movie, and the name escapes me at the moment. And there was a lot of heat around him potentially posthumously winning Best Actor, and they rearranged the order of the categories. And what do you know? He didn't win.
Yeah.
And so it was like, and it was Joaquin Phoenix presenting the award, and he's like, oh, and it goes to Anthony Hopkins, he was like in London, and he was like asleep by then because he's like a granddad. And so he's like, Joaquin Phoenix like, the award goes to Anthony Hopkins, and I'll accept this on his behalf. And good night, we're done. It's like,
yeah.
That's why you don't mess with the formula, right? Like, stop trying to make
exactly
Chadwick happen. But I mean, I get it. It's a nice idea, but just don't. Things like that never end well. Anyhow, so that's some of the highlights and lowlights from 2024 Oscars. Like I said, I thought it was one of the best ones in a while. I mean, it's fun to watch. It's you kind of love watch / hate watch it because there was surprisingly little celebrity virtue signaling going on. We didn't get a lot of political speech. The two quasi-political things that were presented were earned because they were about a film and a documentary that were both on a particular political topic. So it was like the filmmakers had kind of earned the right, and they were very careful with their words as well. But it wasn't just like Sean Penn or Joaquin Phoenix going off.
Can I point out two other fun moments that one of them is quite obvious, which is on John Cena walking across.
Oh, yes.
But
for best costume design, and he's naked.
Yeah. Another one that you might have missed if you weren't paying attention that I thought was so funny was recurring joke was the dog from, was it Falling? There was a movie with a dog in it.
Yeah, so the dog, his name is Messi, and his character, he stars in the movie Anatomy of a Fall.
Yeah. And so they had a scene where they were cutting to various people in the audience, and then they had a scene of Messi, and they had two paws up clapping. And it was just a quick, but the dog was just so deadpan that it was one. I thought it was one of the funniest moments of the night, but it was just a very quick, like just pan across at the dog clapping politely.
That was a good one.
Yeah,
and the John Cena thing. It was clever. Funny, sure, it's for best costume design, and he literally was buck naked, and so he had the envelope that he was holding in front of him, and he shuffles out, but there was no podium, so he's like, I can't raise the envelope. So I think they cut away to the nominees or something, and then they had some kind of gown or drape thing that Jimmy Kimmel threw in front of him, and then he was able to read. It was
a good little skit, it's like a little cheesy, but it's fun, and that's kind of what the Oscars does well.
Self-deprecating, and
one more moment that I enjoyed, but was probably my wife's favorite moment, was when they brought out Danny DeVito and Arnold Schwarzenegger to celebrate twins, and people gave them a standing ovation for twins, and they talked about how they were both victims of Batman.
And cut to Michael Keaton, totally deadpan in the
audience. Yeah, it was going, come on.
Yeah, that was brilliant. Time Magazine, they're oh man, they missed a couple of the top ones.
Yeah,
it's a good thing that you remembered, Will.
Yes.
You know, at the time, our article was probably written by AI, and they just didn't get it.
Phoned it in. They phoned it in.
I wonder if they're going to do the sequel to Twins that was been rumored for a couple of years now. They're supposed to do a sequel starring Eddie Murphy as the long lost triplet.
Oh, that would be awesome.
Yeah. So we'll see if that ever comes to pass.
I love that movie. That and Kindergarten Cop are like two of Arnold Schwarzenegger's best movies.
All right, let's move to our momentous picks. William, what do you say?
Yeah, let's do it. So my momentous pick is a looper, but it's not one of my loopers. I actually really am enjoying this looper. I always struggle with this name, DJ Dwone. Dwone? I can't say it, to be honest.
Dwan, DJ Dwan, DWONH for anyone who's Googling.
Dwan, yeah.
DJ Dwan.
The cross-border looper, really good, funky hip-hop.
It's like a play on Crossfader. I see what they did there. Okay.
And highly recommended. It's on all your loopers, your favorite loopers of choice, Table Beats app and Tableless.net. You can also find it on Tableless.net web looper, which I'm sure you'll probably link in the show notes and what you're showing there now. So yeah, check it out. I really like this one. Funky style is good. Hard cut is a favorite of mine. Turn Terrible is good. What's another good one? Electro Lover is another favorite one of mine. So yeah, check it out.
Well, I'll tell you, I already did. And I took the opportunity to go. Yeah, I thought it was good. I went back. I think I prefer your stuff, but because I went back and listened to a few of your last few loopers that I didn't get a chance to previously. And it's an interesting whole community there, and it's cool to see all the connections that you've made in that world. And I'm glad to see you still making the loops because it's a great creative outlet, because you get to do the graphic design as well. So
yeah,
I imagine it's pretty satisfying.
It's a big passion of mine, and I enjoy other people's loopers as well, and I'm always listening and trying to learn something myself.
All right. My momentous pick this week is kind of on theme, talking about the Oscars, and saw this a couple weeks ago in the theater. Poor Things, again starring Emma Stone, who won Best Actress for her role here. It was directed by Yorgos Lanthimos, who also directed The Lobster, which has been on my list to see for a while, and I have not yet gotten around to it. Basically, it's the incredible tale about the fantastical evolution of Bella Baxter, a young woman brought back to life by the brilliant and unorthodox scientist, Dr. Godwin Baxter, who is played by Willem Dafoe. Mark Ruffalo stars in it, as well as Rami Youssef, who is having a moment himself. Production design was amazing. The acting, all the supporting cast. It's sort of like a different kind of take on a Frankenstein tale. Let's put it that way. Not for everyone. It's not for kids, most definitely too. A little more adult than one might have suspected. There's a couple of little quick flashes in the trailer may give that away. But it's definitely unlike a lot of other things you see in the theaters nowadays. So it's nice to see that quirky movies like this can get made and get seen by, I don't know what it did at the box office. Probably not huge, but hopefully enough to, if these movies can at least break even and make a bit of money, hopefully Hollywood will keep making things other than just, sequels and reboots and, Star Wars and Marvel movies and the like. Like, it's nice to have something a little different, because some people are getting burned out on other stuff. That's Poor Things. And I think we saw it on, was it Prime? Maybe, I can't remember. It's just a great, if you're not sure where to watch stuff, a great site I recommend is justwatch.com, or in Canada, justwatch.ca does not work. You go to justwatch.com and I think /CA maybe. There you go. And then you can select any movie that you're looking for, and it'll tell you where you can watch it online. So we're going to do this in real time, Will, to see where you can watch Poor Things, because I couldn't remember myself. Oh yes, look at that. You can stream it on Disney Plus for free. A great family film.
Nice. Sex scenes.
And then it shows you places where you can rent it for $6.99 Canadian or purchase it for $24.99 Canadian. Of course, no collusion or price fixing here, with all the exact same prices everywhere. Someone should look into that. How about no beats from you this week, but we
Oh,
have
coming soon to a theater
coming
near
soon.
you.
We have another video from the lovely and talented Tasia Custodi, who maybe she'll come back after she's finished her big project and now she's going away. And maybe when she comes back, we'll have her back. But she's got a video on YouTube on how to record amazing tutorials. And she's got an offer, get a 7-day free trial of Tella. So I guess Tella is the tool. This is like a quasi-sponsored post of hers because, it's hard out there, making money just from YouTube ads, especially when you have YouTube doing things like invalid traffic bugs that have been plaguing
Is that
certain
still
YouTube.
going on? They haven't
Yeah,
sorted all that mess out?
it's been going on and off over the months, like since last summer, and it's making her and hundreds of other creators crazy because there's no explanation for it, and YouTube has not given them any satisfaction. It's crazy making. Anyhow, please go and support our colleague Tasia at let's see, youtube.com/Tasia Custodi and www.tasiacustodi.com. And I think her courses should be on there soon. When we get her back, we'll get her to talk about what she's been working on. And speaking of Tasia, she and I have another episode of our other show, which is AI Named This Show. And the most recent episode is on AI language models. We had a whole bunch of LLM and chatbot news from Google and OpenAI and others. And you can find out more about that show at www.ainamedthisshow.com. And of course, you can find out more about us, as mentioned at the top, at www.momentous.tv. Anything to add, Will, before we wrap this up?
No. Love spending some time with you, my friend.
Likewise. Well, Will, and why did it make me all big here? Here we are.
I don't know. You're more important.
Well, what about this week? What should it be? What do we hope everyone's week will be? Truly what?
Mediocre. Momentous.
Hooray!